Hulu's Good American Family dramatizes the real-life saga of Natalia Grace, a Ukrainian orphan with dwarfism, and her time with the Barnett family. Rather than labeling good guys and villains, the show presents all sides of the case, leaving viewers to piece together the truth for themselves. Let's dive in. Episode 1 to 4 is Christine's account of the story. In 2019, best-selling author and supermom Christine Barnett addresses a live audience, admitting she didn't know everything about parenting. She shares how her son Jacob showed signs of autism at 2, and despite experts' pessimism, she trusted her instincts and became Jacob's biggest advocate. She proudly mentions Jacob starting a PhD in quantum gravity at 15 and explains she wrote The Spark to encourage parents of autistic children. Suddenly, a team of police officers arrives. Christine jokingly asks if it's parenting 911, but is arrested for child neglect. Pointing out her sons in the audience, she blames her husband Michael and accuses authorities of targeting the wrong person while someone is trying to kill her. Now we go back to what led up to her arrest. Fall 2010. Christine and Michael are struggling in their marriage after a failed adoption. Christine, who teaches a mini class for autistic children, refuses payment from a parent named Velika, telling her she already got donation from the Christian Community Fund grant for her rec center, which she would be opening soon. At home, Jacob invites Christine to sit with him while he works on string theory. Michael returns and tries to get Jacob to play video games, but Jacob asks him to stop talking so he can focus. Frustrated, Michael finds out that Christine plans to take Blanca's stuffed animals, the ones they bought while preparing to adopt her, to the rec center without discussing it with him. Feeling neglected, Michael later complains that the kids don't bond with him. He works so hard to provide for the family, yet feels like he barely gets to spend any time with them. He asks Christine if she's truly over Blanca. She was his chance to bond with a daughter in a house full of sons. That night, he chooses to sleep on the floor, instead of sharing the bed with Christine. The next day, Michael sits in his car, crying, and ignores Christine's apologetic voicemail about donating Blanca's toys without talking to him about it. Then, Sandy Mosley from First Path Adoptions calls Christine with news. A 7-year-old girl with dwarfism named Natalia Grace needs urgent adoption. There's a 24-hour deadline. Because Christine had been preparing for Blanca, Sandy believes she's the perfect match for Natalia. Christine informs Michael, who resists, saying their marriage is too fragile. But after receiving a photo of Natalia, he reconsiders. Christine, Michael, and their 3 sons, Jacob, Ethan, and Wesley, drive to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina to meet Natalia. Sandy Mosley informs them Natalia is saying goodbye to her old family. Christine asks if they can meet the other family, but Sandy says closed adoptions don't allow that. After some waiting, Natalia walks in and immediately asks if they are her mommy and daddy. Michael responds that they would love to be, if she'll have them. Christine gives Natalia a plush rabbit they filled with their hugs. The boys greet her warmly. Michael and Christine sign the adoption papers. Though concerned about Natalia's medical history, Sandy says she's perfectly healthy. Sandy also requests they reimburse the former family $7,000 for medical expenses. Michael protests that they don't have that kind of money. Christine suggests they speak to a lawyer, but Sandy reminds them the clock is ticking. Outside the agency, Christine and Michael worry about the money when Natalia comes up to them, saying Hercules, the rabbit, is out of hugs. Christine and Michael hug the rabbit again, making her laugh. Her stomach growls. She admits she didn't eat breakfast. Christine tells her Jake has a granola bar for her. Seeing that she's suffering there, Christine suggests using the rec center grant money to cover the $7,000. Over lunch, Natalia sees Christine isn't eating and offers to share her breakfast. Jacob asks permission to go down to the water, which Christine grants. Natalia asks to be carried because she can't use crutches on the sand. Christine asks her to wait until they finish eating. Natalia complains that the boys didn't have to wait. Michael offers to carry her, but Christine insists Natalia needs to be patient. Natalia throws a tantrum, flinging her plate to the floor and running toward the water. On the plane home, Michael questions Natalia's disability. How could she walk across the beach without crutches? Christine suggests that adrenaline could have masked her pain. At home, Natalia is unhappy with the princess-themed room Michael set up. She prefers rock and roll. Michael bonds with her over music, telling her he was once in a band. They agree to redo her room together. At dinner, Christine announces that the star will feature their rec center. Ethan complains that Natalia was allowed to watch TV while the rest of them weren't. Michael defends Natalia, saying it was her first night home. Christine attempts to give Natalia a bath, but Natalia resists. Christine tries to make it fun, calling it a bird bath, but when she touches Natalia's arm, she flings it violently, knocking Christine into the tub. Only after being prompted does Natalia apologize. Michael, excited by his bonding with Natalia, comforts Christine, saying, "Relationships take time." Christine insists she's not worried. After seeing Jacob write equations on the window, Natalia copies him. Jacob accuses Natalia of doing it to bother him because he threatened to tell on her for sneaking Cheetos. Natalia denies this and claims Michael gave her Pop-Tarts when she got hungry during an Xbox session. Christine criticizes Michael for undermining her. She points out that they have set rules for the kids, which Michael has broken by playing favorites. As they argue, Natalia gives a creepy smile. At the rec center, while Christine prepares for the opening, Natalia repeatedly bangs a cup on a chair, despite Christine asking her to stop. Michael's co-workers threw him a surprise daddy party. Christine calls to tell him the Walmart payment for supplies didn't go through. Michael suggests waiting until he's paid, but Christine stresses the importance of having everything ready to meet the grant's expectations. She goes to Valika's house for help. Valika gives Christine $1,000 and encourages her, sharing how her son Jaden also had a rough transition when he was younger. On the morning of the rec center's grand opening, Christine cooks while practicing her speech. She asks Natalia to wear the special dress she picked out, but Natalia refuses. Exhausted, Christine tells her to wear what she wants, but reminds her the day is very important. Natalia then picks up Christine's kitchen knife, wanting to help cut vegetables. Christine tries to stop her, warning she could hurt herself. Natalia snaps, "You're not my real mom," and they briefly struggle before the knife falls. Natalia flashes another creepy smile. Michael enters as Natalia begins to cry, framing Christine as the aggressor. Christine confides in Michael that she was genuinely scared. Valika arrives early, and Michael calms Christine. Later, he reassures Natalia they won't give her back. He shares that his own father was abusive, and that Christine taught him how to love. In their family, love is unconditional. Natalia says she doesn't hate Christine. Guests arrive at the rec center. A reporter praises Christine for raising a prodigy like Jacob. During Christine's speech about creating a safe place for kids on the autism spectrum, Natalia calls out from inside, asking for mommy. She comes on stage, complaining about the zipper on the dress Christine had asked her to wear earlier that she refused. Christine fixes it, and the two hug and apologize to each other. Was Natalia being genuine or just putting on a public show so they wouldn't send her back? Later, Christine tells Michael that two full team of kids signed up for basketball. The opening was a success. She says he's the real hero for whatever he told Natalia. They finally reconnect physically and have sex for the first time in months. But in the middle of the night, Natalia enters their room. When Christine invites her to cuddle, Natalia says not yet, and Christine notices she's holding a knife while smiling. Christine tries to wake Michael, but Natalia shushes her and walks out. In the fall of 2019, Michael is now married to another woman. Detective Drysdale drops by unexpectedly, and it quickly becomes clear he's there about the Christine and Natalia saga, to hear Michael's side of the story. Surprisingly, Michael has nothing positive to say about Christine. Drysdale later plays Michael's recorded statement for Christine, which provided enough evidence for her arrest and questioning. Still, Christine insists she's innocent and tells him not to believe Michael. We then return to where we left off previously. Christine wakes up and checks Natalia's room, searching for the knife she believes is hidden in Natalia's bed. Natalia pretends to be asleep, while Christine inspects the doll for hidden weapons. A brief struggle breaks out when Natalia resists, waking Michael. Ultimately, Christine finds no knife, and Michael comforts Natalia, tucking her back into bed. Christine checks the kitchen and notices no knives are missing. Michael suggests she just had a vivid stress dream and reassures her, blaming exhaustion for her paranoia. The next morning, the family prepares for school. It's Natalia's first day, and Jake has an important Princeton interview. Meanwhile, Ethan can't find his favorite cow doll. Natalia refuses to get dressed, claiming she's tired because Christine disturbed her sleep, and protests against the dress Christine chose. She opts to wear Ethan's clothes instead, and Michael tries to lift her mood. While helping Natalia, Michael discovers the beheaded cow doll hidden under her bed. Natalia begs him not to tell Christine, and Michael agrees but encourages her to find the courage to confess on her own. After a chaotic morning, Christine finally gets everyone ready. Trouble arises when the school demands Natalia's enrollment records, but the documents Christine provides are heavily redacted and incomplete. Christine manages to calm the situation, explaining the adoption happened quickly and promising to provide the full paperwork soon. She calls Michael for advice, and he suggests contacting the adoption agency. However, when Christine tries, the agency's number is disconnected. Alarmed, she searches online and is shocked to find out the agency has shut down permanently. She leaves a voicemail for Sandy. Christine accompanies Jake to his Princeton interview. While the interview is going well, she gets a call from Sandy, warning her to stop digging and hinting that she could still be implicated in something shady. Disturbed but unaware of the full story, Christine returns to the interview. As the impressed interviewer begins showing Jake the dorms, Christine reveals that Jake is only 12 and can't stay on campus. Just then, she gets another call, this time from Natalia's school, informing her there's a problem. Christine rushes to Natalia's school, where the principal wants to suspend Natalia for attacking classmates with her walker. Christine tries to suggest Natalia was bullied, but the principal corrects her. Natalia was the bully. Christine switches tactics, accusing the school of discrimination against Natalia because of her disability. She promises to educate them on working with disabled children, and the principal agrees to let Natalia return once her paperwork is sorted. On the drive home, Christine tries to get Natalia's side of the story, but Natalia refuses to speak and dangerously opens her car door while they're moving. Furious, Christine stops the car and yells at her not to repeat that behavior. That evening, Christine digs deeper into the now-defunct adoption agency and discovers they're facing lawsuits for false adoptions and human trafficking. She contacts a nearby victim from a support group, arranging to meet in person. Keeping Michael in the dark, she asks him to take Natalia to work the next day, telling him it's because of missing paperwork, not about the trouble at school. Michael takes Natalia to his job, while Christine meets the woman from the support group. Christine learns that the agency was involved in trafficking, taking children from their parents and putting them up for adoption. Fearing the worst, Christine contacts another reputable adoption agency she previously worked with. The agent reassures her that Ukrainian traffickers typically don't target children with disabilities and helps her obtain proper school documents for Natalia, although with some sensitive information redacted. Natalia overhears Michael's private conversation. The store is shutting down, and he's about to lose his job. On the drive home, Michael asks Natalia to keep his impending unemployment a secret from Christine. Christine is thrilled to show Natalia new school clothes. However, Natalia throws another tantrum, insisting she wants to keep going to work with Michael, and falsely claims he got a promotion. Although uncomfortable with the lie, Michael plays along, and Christine is happy for him. The next morning, Christine wakes up to Velika, informing her that the newspaper article is out. Although Christine had hoped the article would promote the rec center, the reporter focused mainly on Jacob's genius. Velika and Michael encourage her to see the positive side. Christine sends Ethan to fetch the newspaper, but he injures himself because Natalia had removed tacks from Natalia's first day at school board the parents did for her and left them near the front door. As expected, Natalia denies responsibility, and both Michael and Christine's mom defends her, brushing it off as an innocent prank and urging Christine to give Natalia a break. Later, Christine searches Natalia's room after realizing one of the knives is missing. She finds the beheaded cow doll along with a knife. She calls for Natalia, heading toward the bathroom, only to be shocked when she sees that Natalia has pubic hair. Disturbed, Christine quickly closes the door and shares her discovery with Michael, voicing her deepening fear. Natalia may not be a little girl after all. The media picks up Christine's arrest story, and after her release, she returns to her sons at the motel. They're shaken after seeing the news, but Christine reassures them that it's all lies and blames Michael, accusing him of giving fake evidence to the police to punish her. She believes Michael must have taken a deal, but in reality, Michael soon gets a shock of his own when Detective Drysdale calls to inform him that charges are being filed against him too. We flash back to 2010, shortly after Christine discovered Natalia's pubic hair. She takes Natalia to their pediatrician, Dr. Steve, along with Michael. After a physical exam, Steve suggests checking Natalia's hormone levels and mentions that she may need surgery. Confused, the Barnetts point out they thought Natalia had already undergone surgery, which they had reimbursed her previous adoptive family for. This prompts Christine to finally reveal that there's an ongoing lawsuit against the adoption agency, First Path. Michael is blindsided and upset that she kept it from him, but ultimately agrees that he doesn't want to lose Natalia. Christine maintains that something is wrong, and that First Path may have lied about Natalia's age. Steve gives them some referrals for further tests. Over the next months, Christine drags Natalia to multiple doctors, but due to Natalia's dwarfism, no one can accurately determine her age. Meanwhile, Natalia's behavior worsens. She becomes increasingly aggressive, even bullying her brothers. Christine and Michael attend a therapy session, where the therapist suggests that Natalia might have reactive attachment disorder, and advises the Barnetts to treat her like an infant. Christine, convinced Natalia is a sociopath, is skeptical, especially since a sociopathy diagnosis requires Natalia to be 18, and her real age remains uncertain. While Christine investigates Natalia's background and launches a website, Michael tries to play along with the therapist's advice, but treating Natalia like a baby only makes her more hostile. Christine reaches out to Homeland Security to request Natalia's original birth certificate. Around the same time, she's invited for a TV interview and eagerly agrees. While cleaning up the house for the interview, Christine finds bloody socks hidden in Natalia's room, a clear sign that Natalia has started her period. Christine picks up Natalia from school and shares her excitement about the TV interview with her friend Velika, who invites Christine over later to help her pick an outfit for the appearance. On the way home, Christine attempts to discuss Natalia's period and hygiene, offering to teach her how to use tampons instead of socks. Natalia grows defensive and violent, grabbing Christine's face and nearly causing a car accident. They crash into the mailbox. Christine tells Michael about the incident, but he doubts her story. That evening at Velika's house, Christine vents about Natalia's disturbing behavior. Velika recalls a movie she once saw about a similar situation, The Orphan, where adopted children turned violent and ended up killing their parents. Velika also mentions a former military therapist who offers tough love programs for troubled teens and their parents. Christine agrees to reach out to this therapist. The next day, the TV interviewer arrives with his crew to film Christine and Jake. Things start off smoothly, until Christine spots a blood-soaked tampon deliberately hidden under the chair by Natalia, clearly meant to throw her off during the broadcast. That evening, Michael brings Natalia home. Christine confronts her, accusing Natalia of trying to sabotage her, first by grabbing her face while driving, nearly causing a crash, and now by planting the tampon to ruin her big moment. As usual, Natalia plays innocent and manipulates Michael into siding with her. Frustrated and feeling betrayed, Christine accuses Michael of living in denial and says she's done treating Natalia like a child. The next morning, Christine checks the Tough Love therapist's website and decides to apply its methods. She assigns Natalia chores, starting with cleaning the kitchen, and introduces a disciplinary system where level 1 punishment involves facing the wall. Natalia retaliates. First, she reveals to Christine that Michael has been unemployed for 3 months. Then, she starts doing her chores only when Michael walks in. Christine then takes a sip of her coffee and immediately spits it out, realizing there's bleach in it. When she confronts Natalia, the girl denies it, claiming she had just been cleaning nearby and the bleach must have gotten in by mistake. Once again, Michael refuses to believe it was intentional and takes Natalia's side. Christine shows Michael the document she received from Homeland Security. According to the paperwork, Natalia is 7 years old, but the photo attached is of a completely different child, meaning Natalia stole a younger child's identity. Christine also notices that Natalia's former family's address is listed. Shortly after, Christine and Jake are invited to another TV interview near Natalia's old neighborhood. Christine impulsively visits Natalia's former mother, who, terrified, eventually admits that she believes Natalia is a con artist. She confirms her suspicion that Natalia is older than she claims and is extremely smart, and hints that Natalia may have even profited from the $7,000 surgery fee collected by the adoption agency. Devastated, Christine returns to the TV station, crying her eyes out. She tells Michael everything she learned. However, Michael still refuses to believe her. Christine suggests admitting Natalia into a psychiatric hospital, but Michael refuses, insisting that growing up without love could have made Natalia the way she is, just like his own loveless upbringing. Their argument escalates as Christine accuses Michael of hiding his job loss, news she only learned from Natalia. Despite this, Michael threatens to expose Christine for giving up on Natalia, which would ruin Christine's public image as an advocate for disabled children. Cornered, Christine agrees not to institutionalize Natalia, but insists that Michael take full responsibility for her care and keep a close eye on her. In the end, they call a temporary truce and present themselves to the world as the picture-perfect American family. In 1995, Michael was struggling mentally, and Christine narrates how he was on the verge of killing himself. This had happened multiple times before, but this time, Christine convinced him that she needed him and suggested they get married. Michael proposed, and the rest, as they say, is history. Fast forward to the present. After her release, Christine assures Velika that she still has control over Michael, even after their divorce. She claims that Michael only talked to the police because of pressure from his new wife, which eventually led to his arrest. Christine believes that she's the only woman capable of handling Michael, and isn't overly stressed about his betrayal. The story then flashes back to 2011, a few months after their New York trip and interview. As part of their arrangement, Michael is now taking care of Natalia full-time, allowing Christine to focus on her upcoming book after landing a deal. She eagerly anticipates meeting her ghostwriter Myra and warns Michael to keep Natalia from ruining things. However, before Myra arrives, CPS pays them a visit. They inspect the house and speak to the kids. As the officer is leaving, Natalia hugs Christine, and the officer mentions Natalia talking about a leg surgery Christine and Michael supposedly paid for, something they hadn't actually done. Christine realizes Natalia had called CPS and used the surgery story to pressure them into paying for it. However, Michael, blinded by love, refuses to believe Natalia could scheme like that. When Myra finally arrives, Christine suggests going to a cafe to chat, wanting to present her life in a polished, idealistic way, away from Natalia's drama. After a few meetings, Myra asks to visit their home to get a better sense of Christine's life for the book. Christine frantically texts Michael to clear the kids out before Myra gets there. Unfortunately, Michael forgets something and returns home, overhearing Christine praising him to Myra. Just then, Jacob storms in to report that Natalia is throwing Wesley's toys into traffic. They all rush out. Christine grabs Wesley, saving him from a bus, then shoves Natalia to the ground. Michael picks Natalia up. Afterward, Christine begs Myra to keep Natalia's existence a secret, and Myra agrees. This incident becomes Christine's breaking point. She packs up the boys and tells Michael they are leaving. Michael continues to defend Natalia, refusing to believe she's dangerous. Another fight breaks out, with Christine adamantly insisting that Natalia needs to be institutionalized, as she has reached her breaking point after 2 years of living with her. While Christine stays at her mother's house with the boys, Michael continues looking after Natalia. He tries contacting Christine under false pretenses, but she remains firm. Michael eventually breaks down and cries bitterly over the situation. Later, Michael has an important Skype interview. He instructs Natalia to quietly entertain herself during the call. However, Natalia calls the police, claiming she was hungry and needed pizza, thus sabotaging Michael's job opportunity. When Michael confronts her, saying, "I told you I needed this job to get the family back home," she says she doesn't want the family to reunite. She even tells him she wishes they would all die. It finally hits Michael that Christine had been right all along. The next day, Michael visits Christine and the boys, bringing Natalia with him because he can't leave her unattended. Christine tries to bargain with Natalia, asking if there's anything else she wants, pointing out they already paid for her leg surgery. Natalia takes offense and shoves Christine into an electric fence. Though Christine lies to the paramedics, saying she fell, it's clear they can't keep Natalia's behavior a secret any longer. Michael finally agrees that Natalia needs to be institutionalized and apologizes for doubting Christine. United again, they take the boys home, but when Michael returns from the mental institution, Natalia is still with him. The facility said they were full and told him to check other places in the morning. That night, worried for their safety, they lock Natalia in the garage with a baby monitor to keep watch, providing her with everything she needs and telling themselves it's just for one night. However, Natalia's screaming causes concerned neighbors to call the police. When the officer arrives, Christine tries to explain everything before he sees Natalia. The officer checks on Natalia, who claims the Barnetts tried to hurt her. Christine shows him Natalia's documents and fake identity. The officer sides with Christine and Michael, sensing that Natalia is older than she claims, pointing out that she hasn't grown since arriving in the U.S. 4 years ago. He suggests correcting her legal documents to reflect her real age and staying on as her guardians to prevent her from conning another family. He also recommends a lawyer to them, too. In the following weeks, Christine and Michael managed to have Natalia legally registered as a 22-year-old woman. They set her up in a small house, covering her rent, food, and clothing, but distancing themselves physically. After explaining the situation to Natalia and leaving her at her new home, the couple walks away, relieved and believing they finally saved their family. At least, that's what they thought. Now things start to get wicked, as we shift to Natalia's account of events. Detective Drysdale interviews Natalia for the second time, hoping to get more clarity now that a year and a half has passed since the Barnetts left her in the rundown apartment. However, Natalia is too anxious to fully cooperate. As Drysdale presses her, she admits to lashing out in the Barnetts' home, hiding knives, and making threats against their family. Drysdale doesn't really buy her responses and steps outside to argue with an anonymous woman about Natalia's lack of cooperation. We flash back to 2012, when Christine and Michael abandon Natalia at the new apartment. Natalia chases after them, pleading for them not to leave, or at least to return her walker, but they don't look back. At first, Natalia believes it's just another punishment. She throws a tantrum, tosses some toys around, and cries herself to sleep. Later that evening, Natalia wakes up hungry. She checks the pantry but dislikes the food options. She tries to eat canned peaches but can't figure out how to use a can opener, so she settles for peanut butter and crackers. Over the following days, Natalia mostly eats boxed food and watches TV. Nothing in the apartment is suited to her needs. She struggles to reach hide drawers, open faucets, or cook. Eventually, with the food running out, she attempts again to open the canned peaches using a knife but cuts herself. Needing help, Natalia sneaks into a neighbor's house and devours some donuts she finds on the table. She's caught by the neighbor, JJ, who assumes she's a child. Natalia insists she's 22 and living alone. JJ, sympathetic, helps her call the Barnetts using an online number search. However, when Natalia calls, the family voicemail greeting message excludes her, hurting her deeply. Sensing the tension between Natalia and her family, JJ shares her own experiences with family estrangement and encourages Natalia to fix things with her mother. Later, Natalia sees Christine on TV promoting her new parenting book. Inspired by Christine's words about never giving up on a child, Natalia visits the library to get the book for herself. But Natalia has no money to pay for the book, so she hits the library attendant with it and runs off. Back at home, Natalia reads the book and realizes the Barnetts cropped her out of their family picture. Heartbroken, she blacks out the pictures with a pencil. Her emotional and physical state worsens. One morning, Michael drops by. Someone from the library called CPS, and Michael says the C in CPS means children, which Natalia is not, but she's another C. Though he doesn't say it, I think he meant a derogatory term. He accuses Natalia of manipulating the situation again, but this time, she genuinely wasn't. Natalia tries to explain she doesn't think she's really 22, as she can't recall those missing years, but Michael brushes it off, and seeing the vandalized book doesn't help matters. After refilling her kitchen and paying her utility bills, he films Natalia and the apartment, pointing out that she has everything she needs, probably to cover himself legally. As he prepares to leave, Natalia hugs him tightly, begging him to take her home. Although Michael's heart breaks, he refuses, telling her that if she hadn't acted out, things wouldn't have reached this point. He reminds her she's not a child and needs to act accordingly. His harsh words hit Natalia deeply. Remembering Christine's earlier lectures about privilege, Natalia starts cleaning the apartment and tries her best to clean herself up, even struggling with the faucets. Feeling like she has improved, Natalia decides she deserves another chance. She heads back to JJ's house to borrow the phone again. JJ's grandson, Keaton, is visiting for the holidays. Natalia calls the Barnett's number, but discovers it's disconnected. JJ goes to take a nap after her shift, and Keaton suggests that Natalia doesn't have to call her family. They could just go visit them. He offers to help her take the bus, using his bus card. They hop on a bus and play games along the way. However, the trip doesn't go smoothly. Natalia gives the driver the wrong stop, causing them to wait hours for another bus. When they finally get close, Natalia recognizes her old house and convinces Keaton to come with her, promising snacks. But when they arrive, they find a for sale sign. Natalia spots Velika and asks about the Barnetts. Velika tells her that the Barnetts are moving to Canada, and then blames Natalia for everything that happened. Keaton claims that Natalia lured him, and given Natalia's past, Velika believes him, even though Natalia insists Keaton volunteered. Velika drives them back. JJ berates Natalia harshly, calling her names and telling her to stay away. Though Natalia apologizes profusely, the neighborhood has already turned against her. Heartbroken, Natalia returns to her apartment and begs God to help her be good. The next morning, Natalia wakes up to find Christine inside her apartment. At first thinking it's a dream, Natalia realizes Christine is really there. Natalia learns she's being evicted and that the neighbors want her gone immediately. Christine is furious about the eviction. On the drive to the new apartment, Christine shows Natalia her new school and says she must work on getting her GED and stop leeching off the family. When they arrive at the new apartment, it's heartbreaking to see Natalia struggling to climb the stairs. Christine threatens to have her thrown in jail if she messes up again. She warns Natalia that next time, she'll tell everyone that Natalia went crazy and tried to harm the family with a knife and poison. Christine then asks Natalia what she would say if people questioned her about who she is. Natalia, scared, agrees to say whatever Christine wants. But Christine insists it's the truth and then pepper sprays her. Natalia doesn't seem to remember doing any of these things, and it feels like Christine is coaching her. Plus, the Christine from episodes 1 to 4 didn't seem like someone who would pepper spray a child, but since this is from Natalia's perspective, more might be revealed later. Natalia eventually starts her GED classes, writing her first essay about who she is, while hearing Christine's voice in her head, warning her that no one will ever believe her. Natalia narrates that in 2011, she had been living with the Barnetts for about 4 months. One day, after the conversation in the car about her using socks for her period, Christine found her in the bathroom, handed her a tampon, and forcibly inserted it into her, supposedly to teach her how to use it. Detective Drysdale asks Natalia if she was actually menstruating at that time. Natalia explains that while Christine claimed she was, her first experience seeing blood from her private parts happened after Christine forcibly used the tampon on her. The detective then asks Natalia to explain what led up to that moment. The story flashes back to Natalia attending her GED classes, where it was hard for her to make friends because, as Christine said, the other students were legally her age, but Natalia feels they are older than her, and the classmates feel the same. Natalia walked to school every day despite her painful leg, Christine's cruel words echoing in her mind. As days passed, a depressed Natalia stopped attending school altogether, spending her time in a littered area, eating whatever scraps she could find. One day, Cynthia Mans saw Natalia sitting alone with bleeding feet. Wanting to help, Cynthia approached, but Natalia, terrified Christine would find out, initially resisted. Cynthia, however, was persistent, and eventually got Natalia into her car, taking her back to her apartment. Natalia insisted she was an adult, but Cynthia could sense she was just a child. At the apartment, Cynthia asked to come inside, pretending she needed to use the bathroom. Natalia was scared, worried Cynthia would report the apartment's terrible condition, but eventually let her in. Cynthia immediately saw how bad things were, worse even than at the last place. Cynthia offered to go with Natalia to the grocery store to help her buy food for her apartment with her CBT card that just came in the mail. But once they got there, Cynthia decided the groceries would be used to cook for her own family and Natalia, giving Natalia whatever was left, along with a home-cooked meal to take home. When it was time to pay, Cynthia asked Natalia to use her CBT card, which makes Natalia and I suspicious. She eventually agreed. Afterward, Cynthia took Natalia home for dinner. There, Natalia experienced a warm, loving family environment for the first time in a long while. That night, Natalia overheard Cynthia and her husband discussing their financial troubles, and how Natalia might be a miracle for them, although they also showed genuine concern for her. Concerned about Natalia's constant pain, Cynthia took her to a doctor. When the doctor began asking questions about her age and medical history, Cynthia snapped that they were there for pain, not personal questions. When pressed, Cynthia even claimed to be Natalia's mother. The doctor recommended x-rays and tests before prescribing anything, and suggested that Natalia get a walker. However, to get one through disability assistance, Natalia would need to redirect her benefits, which were still being sent to the Barnetts. Cynthia suggested changing the mailing address to Natalia's, but Natalia was scared the Barnetts would find out. So Cynthia offers to have it changed to herself. Before heading to the SSDI office, Cynthia suggested Natalia take a bath, which triggered Natalia's trauma and caused her to lash out and hit Cynthia. Natalia immediately apologized, saying, "I didn't mean to hurt you. Look what you made me do." Instead of getting angry, Cynthia understood her and calmed her down. Backing off on the bath, together, they went to the SSDI office and redirected the disability payments. On the next doctor visit, the scan results came back. Cynthia kept receiving calls from an unknown number, which she ignored. There were plenty of spaces between Natalia's growth plates, something that wouldn't happen if she were truly 22, as growth plates would have closed. Multiple surgeries could help fix her pain. It turned out the doctor had grown suspicious after their last visit and had called the authorities. Detective Brandon Drysdale, from the Child Trafficking Unit, began questioning Cynthia and Natalia about their relationship. Terrified, Natalia repeated everything Christine had drilled into her, insisting she was 22, even though the doctor pointed out she still had baby teeth. Seeing how distressed Natalia was, the mans asked if they were under arrest. When Drysdale said no, they left with Natalia. But before leaving, Drysdale gave Natalia his card, telling her to call when she was ready to talk. On the drive home, Cynthia finally answered the unknown call. It was Christine. Christine warned her that Natalia was dangerous and urged her to return Natalia to her apartment before she hurt her children. Distressed, Natalia jumped out of the car and ran off. As she wandered through a park, we see a flashback of Christine viciously hitting her, demanding to know her real age and identity. Natalia cried, apologized, and begged Christine to stop hitting her, but Christine blamed her, saying, "Look what you made me do." She forced Natalia to walk around the block in only her socks, which explains the multiple bloody socks Christine had previously claimed were used for periods. Later, Cynthia found Natalia sitting alone. Natalia asked what Christine had said about her. Cynthia listed the usual accusations, but added that Christine claimed Natalia tried to steal her husband, something Natalia vehemently denied as gross. Natalia confessed that she had hit a librarian, and hit Cynthia too. She asked Cynthia if she was truly bad, and if Christine's prediction that no one would ever love her was true. Cynthia reassured her that kids, especially traumatized ones, sometimes lash out, and insisted that she loved Natalia. They made a promise not to stop loving each other. Back at Cynthia's home, Natalia finally took a bath, something she had resisted throughout her time with the Barnetts, symbolizing the start of her healing journey. Later, after following the family to church, Natalia looked at Drysdale's card and told Cynthia she was ready to testify. What tests did they even use to claim she was 22 years old in the first place? Natalia is being held in a psychiatric ward. While the Barnetts are in court working to legally re-age her, she's placed in the children's unit, telling a ghost story to her new friend Sky. Suddenly, a nurse storms in and drags Natalia away, informing her that she's now been re-aged and is being transferred to the adult unit. Natalia begs to take her stuffed toy, Hercules, but the nurse refuses. She's thrown into a room with a restrained adult man, warned that if she doesn't behave, she'll be restrained too. We then flash forward to a time before Christine's arrest. Natalia is recounting this traumatic experience to Detective Brandon Drysdale, with Cynthia by her side. Cynthia is furious that nothing has been done to fix the situation. Drysdale reveals that the Barnetts sealed the records of Natalia's re-aging in probate court, but there's a loophole. They can argue that Natalia was denied due process since she was locked away during the legal proceedings and had no legal representation. Michael and Christine are living in Canada. Christine is busy promoting her book, Jacob is thriving in grad school, and Michael, now a stay-at-home dad, is deluded into believing they have a perfect life. One day, he discovers a motion in the mailbox, seeking to overturn Natalia's age ruling. He promises Christine that he'll take care of it, but after shutting it down, another petition is filed, leading to a 3-year-long nightmare of legal paperwork. In August 2017, a new request arrives, this time, to make Cynthia and Antoine Natalia's legal guardians. Michael thinks it's a relief, not realizing the legal danger. Christine, however, is alarmed. If they lose guardianship, Natalia could be reclassified as a child, and they could be charged with abandoning a minor. She tells Michael to handle it, warning that their relationship is on hold until he does. Michael travels to Indiana to meet a lawyer, arranged by Velika. During the meeting, the lawyer requests the original re-aging documents. Michael helps Christine send the documents and hands the phone straight to the lawyer without checking. As the lawyer scrolls through the files, he pauses, then shows something to Michael, a series of nude photos. Michael is stunned. Given that he and Christine haven't been intimate in months, he immediately realizes they weren't meant for him. In his car, he listens to Meat Loaf's "I'd Do Anything for Love," and, instead of confronting Christine, reacts to one of the nudes with a thumbs-up emoji. Christine calls immediately. They argue. She tries to gaslight him, but he's done. Michael tells her it's over. Christine fires back that he's jobless and can't survive without her, but he walks away. Michael ends up at a bar, where he reconnects with his old colleague Jennifer. After drinks and reminiscing, they kiss. Jennifer eventually became his new wife. The first legal plan is to appoint Cynthia and Antoine as Natalia's new guardians, and the second is to overturn the 2012 re-aging decision. However, the judge seems biased from the start. Even though Natalia's attorney presents extensive medical evidence proving she was a child, the judge is unmoved. The Barnett's lawyer presents Dr. Lawrence, who claims Natalia had been menstruating for years and was diagnosed with sociopathy. Natalia insists she only met him once. Cynthia also knows the testimony is false. Natalia hadn't had a period under their care. When it's finally time for Natalia to speak, Michael is allowed to go first, even though Natalia was already prepared with her speech. Michael portrays Natalia as a manipulative con artist. The judge addresses Natalia, tells her she was ungrateful, then invites her to give her speech. Though it's clear he's already made his decision, Natalia refuses. The judge rules against changing her guardianship or overturning the age decision. Cynthia's family gathers around Natalia, offering support and prayer. Detective Drysdale promises they'll appeal, but Cynthia shuts it down. Natalia has suffered enough. Years later, after Drysdale and his wife adopt a daughter, he reopens the case. He visits Dr. Lawrence, who confesses he had no role in the age change decision. He simply wrote down what the Barnetts told him. The discharge papers from the psychiatric hospital show Natalia had a clean bill of health. Dr. Lawrence admits he lied and never personally confirmed any of the claims in his court testimony. Drysdale then tracks down the team of specialists who evaluated Natalia years earlier. They all confirm she was a child. Drysdale's superior tells him that to bring this to court, they'll need a confession from the Barnetts that they knew Natalia was a child and still abandoned her. She suggests exploiting the messy Barnett divorce to get one of them to turn on the other. We now revisit the full interview between Drysdale and Michael. Since the divorce, Christine has had full custody of their boys, and Michael hasn't been able to see them. Drysdale dangles the possibility that if Christine is arrested, Michael might regain custody. Michael confesses everything. He says Christine would beat Natalia, actual blows, not just slaps, and he even filmed one of the attacks as insurance. But she later forced him to delete it. He claims Christine was obsessed with Natalia's age, and admits they were told she was likely around 8. When asked directly if they knew Natalia was a child, Michael says yes. Drysdale is thrilled, but Michael doesn't realize he just implicated himself. When he shares the news with Jennifer, she tells him, "If you told the detective you knew she was a kid, then you're probably guilty too." The realization hits him hard. Finally, it's Christine's turn to face justice. She pleads not guilty to 6 charges of neglect and 2 of conspiracy to commit neglect. She, Michael, Jen, and all their lawyers meet to present a united front. While Natalia bravely tells her side of the story to the public, Christine and Michael craft their own louder narrative to drown her out. In February 2020, Natalia appears on Dr. Phil. When asked why she chose to speak up, she simply says, "Well, they'd been doing all the talking, so I figured it's my turn." We pick up with Natalia's Dr. Phil interview. She's 16 years old and firmly denies all the claims Christine made about her. The supposed poisoning? She was just cleaning the kitchen with the spray Christine gave her. The alleged shoving incident? Christine slipped and started screaming that she was pushed. Natalia says she only claimed to be 22 because Christine had drilled that lie into her. Now, she's clear. She was 8, and while she can't reclaim her childhood, she wants the Barnetts held accountable. When Dr. Phil questions why anyone would adopt a child just to abandon them, Cynthia offers a theory. She says Natalia lashed out a bit when she first came, but Christine probably saw her as just another disabled project to fix. But when things didn't go the way Christine expected, She tried to get rid of Natalia. Most of the finale is set in 2022, 3 years after that interview, as Michael Barnett's trial looms. If charges against him don't stick, Christine likely walks free too. Natalia is older now, not just in age but in attitude. Though she still obsessively follows Christine's public image and the case's progress, her main goal is simple: to tell her story and be believed. She's up against 2 courts, the legal one and the court of public opinion. And Christine, thanks to her public charity work, already owns the latter. Natalia is counting on the former. Legally, the Barnetts are on the defensive. Christine's team scrambles to find witnesses who can back her claims. Witness number 1. The principal Christine claims suspended Natalia for bullying. But he says Natalia was sweet, funny, and polite. Definitely not a bully. Christine insists he can't be called because she's blacklisted for calling out how disabled kids were treated. Witness number 2. Natalia's former adoptive mom, who Christine says warned her Natalia was a con artist. But the woman says Natalia was just a child, and they only gave her up because they couldn't afford her medical care. They thought the Barnetts could help her. Christine brushes this off too, saying the woman would lie because she abandoned Natalia. Witness number 3. The psychiatric nurse who Christine says diagnosed Natalia with sociopathy. But the nurse is baffled. Natalia has always shown empathy, joy, and kindness. All 3 witnesses are now lined up against Christine. It's clear. No one is willing to vouch for the Barnetts. Michael realizes he's in serious trouble. His lawyer later tells him the state is more focused on Christine and would likely offer him immunity to testify against her. Jennifer urges him to take the deal when it comes. Natalia's team is still missing the smoking gun, something that answers why this good American family would do such a thing. They've combed through texts, but found nothing. Natalia suggests they subpoena Christine's Facebook, knowing how much she loves to post. Meanwhile, Christine is on a Zoom call at Velika's place. But the company on the call has heard about the case and is backing out. Velika jumps in to defend Christine, calling Natalia a con artist and praising Christine for helping her daughter get into an elite college. The call is salvaged, for now. Afterward, Christine asks Velika to testify, but Velika declines. She only knows what Christine told her, not what actually happened. Then, a major break. Christine and Michael's Facebook messages are retrieved, and they're damning. They show the Barnetts casually referring to Natalia using the M-word, and Michael even threatens Christine with a video of her beating Natalia. Christine dismisses it in texts, calling Natalia evil. When Natalia reads the messages, she's crushed. Detective Drysdale comforts her, saying if it's too much, she can pull back. But Natalia, strong as ever, says she's got this. On the car ride, Christine scolds Michael for even mentioning the beating in texts. But Michael stands his ground, because she did beat Natalia. He confesses his lawyer told him about the immunity deal. Christine switches gears fast, inviting him to her place. He starts questioning everything. Did she make it all up? Was he manipulated? Michael begins to spiral into a panic attack. Christine gaslights him again. She claims things got bad because he blamed her after they abandoned Natalia. She throws in an excuse about the nudes their lawyer saw, saying they were to reignite their marriage. Then she tries to kiss him. But surprise, the kids are home. She had lied about that, to draw Michael into their old family dynamic. And because Michael is needy and weak, she plays him like a fiddle. They end up having dinner together. Then Michael's phone rings. His lawyer, Natalia's birth mother, has come forward in Ukraine. She has documents proving Natalia was a child when adopted. With the heat turning up, Michael agrees to testify against Christine. The trial begins, and Terrence, Michael's attorney, goes straight for the jugular. He argues that this case has already been decided during the re-aging trial, specifically the 2016 attempt by Cynthia and Antoine Mans to become Natalia's legal guardians. But the judge dismissed it outright, ruling she was legally an adult before Natalia even had a chance to speak. And Cynthia chose not to appeal it due to the mental toll it was taking on her. It's a closed case. Reopening it, he says, is just a waste of taxpayer money. And unbelievably, the judge agrees. He rules that any evidence or testimony suggesting Natalia was a child is to be stricken from the record. The courtroom is forced to refer to her as someone born in 1989, not the little girl she actually was. It's a gut punch to Natalia, and everyone who fought so hard to get her story heard. All of Natalia's witnesses, the nurse, the principal, the Facebook messages, are now inadmissible. They were only allowed before because Natalia was considered a child, which gave an exception to spousal privilege. Now that's off the table. The prosecution tries to proceed on general abuse charges, but it's almost impossible to talk about the abuse without also referring to Natalia as a child. Objection after objection rings out in court. Even when Natalia is called to the stand, she's forced to say she was born in 1989. It's heartbreaking. In the end, The Barnetts are found not guilty on all charges. Natalia lashes out at Cynthia for not appealing earlier, even though Cynthia believed she was protecting her. Christine is smug about the verdict, but she's lost the court of public opinion. She's getting slammed online. Even Velika turns against her, admitting Natalia has really grown from her court appearance, which she didn't look back then, and that no one supported Christine in court. Christine doesn't stop gaslighting. She leaves Valika's with Jacob and heads to Michael's. On the way, Jacob says he remembers what she did to Natalia. When they arrive, they find Natalia already there. She came to confront Michael, looking for answers. But the answer is he was a coward. Jacob apologizes too for not helping her. He says Christine made the kids scared of Natalia. But they were just kids. Michael asks Jacob if he wants to stay, and he agrees. Christine is left alone, her only ally now her own mother, someone she can barely stand. Is it justice? Maybe not entirely. But Natalia gets something she needed. At home, her siblings show her all the love and support pouring in online. She smiles. The truth was told. And in 2024, Natalia received a U.S. passport restoring her original birth date, September 4, 2003. Christine still insists she did nothing wrong. This show is heartbreaking. I hope she's fine now. Drop your thoughts in the comments.